Lee Hayward here with another live video Q&A for Friday, July 15th. Hopefully this is coming through loud and clear and you can hear me and see me and all that good stuff. Just going to check a moment here now, make sure that this is coming through loud and clear on your end. Seems to be going good on my end. Hello, Dan. Dan is joining in, saying things are going loud and clear. Appreciate it. Thank you much. So it's been a couple weeks now since I've done a live Q&A, and the reason for that is I was away on a bike packing trip. If you've been following along with me over on my Facebook page, if we're friends on Facebook, you've probably seen some of the pictures of my bike packing adventure because I was sharing those along the way. But it was pretty darn cool. So I'll just give you a quick recap. What it was from July 1st, Canada Day, right up until July 10th, we did a 10-day bike packing trip up the west coast of Newfoundland. So went on through Grossmore Mountain Provincial Park there, went on up the Viking Trail, the west coast of Newfoundland. We crossed over, had a day over in Labrador, went over on the ferry, and then we worked our way up the Northern Peninsula all the way to St. Anthony and the tip of the province. So it was a 10-day trip. Over the course of 10 days, covered 766 kilometers. So, I mean, it wasn't extreme cycling. Now, granted, it was the most cycling that I've ever done, but it was kind of like manageable, so to speak, over the course of 10 days. But the thing that made it unique is we were camping every night along the way. So we had a support crew that was carrying our food and our camping gear. And each night we stayed out at a different campsite along the way, working our way up the province. And it was pretty cool. So myself, along with a group of 35 cyclists in total, most of them from the United States. I was actually the only Newfoundlander on the tour, so which was pretty neat. But most of them were from the United States, had a few people from mainland Canada, and it was pretty cool. So we worked our way up and just had an awesome adventure. Now, the only thing is during that trip, sleeping in a tent wasn't the ideal for optimal recovery and optimal sleep, but being outdoors 24/7, right? So I was outdoors cycling, camping, and especially when we were going through Grossmore National Park, like that's, you're out in the middle of the forest, right? Like there's wilderness and trees and everything was just in peak pollination. So pollen levels were extremely high and my allergies got acted up big time. So within a couple days of being on that trip, my sinuses just got blocked up and it didn't have any major impact on my energy levels or my ability to ride, but it was just frustrating. Always having, blowing my nose and full of snot and everything else, right? So it wasn't the most pleasant. So that kind of had a bit of an impact and it actually worked its way down. So I think it kind of developed into a full-blown sinus infection and worked its way down. So I even have a little bit on my chest. Now it's starting to break up. I'm way better than I was, but for a while there, it was pretty, I was pretty congested, to say the least. So that was the only drawback to the whole thing. And then, of course, the cumulative fatigue of 10 days on the road cycling. That really added up over the course of the trip. So when I got back home, like for the first few days, I wasn't fit for anything. I just wanted to rest. I didn't even want to get out of bed. I just wanted to sleep, rest, and recover. And so that's why I haven't been super active over the past few days, but I'm starting to get my energy levels back up again. Went to the gym today, first time in a couple of weeks. So getting back into the regular routine of things again. But overall, I had an awesome trip. Really enjoyed it. And it was a unique adventure for me. So like I say, it was a personal best in terms of the distance and the volume of cycling that I did in that period of time. So I really enjoyed it. And that's where I've been now over the past couple of weeks. So just to share that, if you want to see some pictures of the trip, like say, head on over to my Facebook page because I have a ton of them posted there. And I did take some video footage and, of course, lots of pictures. So I'm probably going to put together like a little collage video of the whole bike packing trip and share that on YouTube as well. I haven't gotten around to editing that yet, but that's something that I want to do, just put it together. So I'll be sharing that. So, with that being said, let's see who we got joining in. We've got Dan joining in. We got YT, AJ, Andre, Roberts. Who else is joining in? Let's see. Hopefully, this is not locked up. There we go. Okay. As you're joining in, let me know. Type in your name and where you're from. And if you're new to these video chats, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people tuning in. And this is going to work. I'm going to hang out here for the next hour or so, answering questions that you have related to fitness and nutrition, specific challenges you have when it comes to your workouts, and also losing fat. Any sport-specific goals that I can help you with, I'll do my best to help you out over the course of our video chat. And if I can't help you, then I'll let you know. But chances are I'll probably be able to offer some insights on most topics, right? Like I said, I've been doing this for 30 plus years, so kind of have a fair idea when it comes to fitness and nutrition related topics, but I don't claim to know it all. So if I can't help you, then I'll just be open and transparent and do the best I can to try and point you in the right direction to someone who can help you. So feel free to post any questions or topics of discussion that you may have into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our chat. And of course, let me know where you're tuning in from. Always nice to know, because we usually have an international audience, right? We got people from across North America, got some late owls over in the UK or over in Europe joining in as well. So let me know where you're from and what time it is in your neck of the woods. All right. So first question, Andre saying, hi, Lee, how are you? I'm doing fine, thank you. He says, I have a quick question. What do you consider to be the top 3 chest exercises? Top 3 chest exercises. One that I'm going to put out there as I think one of my all-time favorite is push-ups. And the reason I like push-ups, one, they're very effective. 2, you can do them anywhere. Like there's no special equipment required for push-ups. Like anybody, whether you're a newbie starting from home or you're a seasoned advanced bodybuilder, you can benefit from doing push-ups. So push-ups are, I think, is one of my top chest exercises that I would have to put on the list. And back before I got involved with bodybuilding to any serious degree, I started off doing a lot of body weight exercises, which include push-ups. Because as many of you know, if you followed along with my history and you're following along with what I've done, I started off with martial arts before I got involved with serious strength training. And as part of martial arts training, we did a lot of body weight exercises, which was push-ups. And I got good at push-ups when I was young. And that really helped to carry over and help me thicken up my chest and upper body area. So I think push-ups are one of the best exercises you can do. When it comes to other types of chest exercises, any type of chest press, whether that's a bench press, a dumbbell, barbell, whatever, I mean, that kind of has to be put in there to some degree as well. Push-ups and bench presses, they're kind of in the same category. It's the same movement pattern. The only thing with a push-up is you're limited to your body weight. Now, for a lot of people, that's plenty. Like, their body weight alone is enough to make progress. But the problem with that is if you're brand new or if you're really overweight or out of shape, your body weight may be too much. And then as you get in better shape, your body weight's not enough. So it's hard to accommodate resistance when it comes to body weight exercises. So that's where a bench press or a chest press of some sort really comes into play, because obviously you can adjust the resistance according to your own strength level. So if you're a beginner just getting started, you can go very light. If you're more advanced, you can go very heavy and everything in between. So some sort of chest press. And I'm going to leave that as a wild card because it could be a barbell bench press. It could be a dumbbell bench press. It even could be a chest press machine, like some sort of hammer strength or different chest press machines that you have available at your local gym, because they all work the same movement pattern, right? There's pros and cons to all of them, but bottom line, you want to have some sort of chest press in there for the progressive overload. Another one that I'm a big fan of when it comes to the chest is a fly motion. So whether that's like a dumbbell fly, a cable crossover fly, or a pec deck fly. And if I had to choose just one of those, I would probably choose a pec deck fly. I like the pec deck fly where you have those handles. Like there's 2 styles of pec deck fly. There's one that's like a butterfly where you have your hands on the pads, Other ones, you have these handles where you kind of do a fly motion. And I like the ones with the handles because you get a full stretch in the bottom and you can also get a full peak contraction at the top. And I really like how that exercise feels and works. So those would be my top exercises that I would do for chest. Now, depending on what it is that you want to focus on with your chest, you can angle the bench and the exercise accordingly. So, for example, as people progress with their chest training, very often you find your upper chest may be lagging behind, right? You're filling out the lower chest area, but the upper is lagging behind. Then you might want to do more incline bench work. So, doing your bench presses and chest presses on an incline bench, doing your push-ups with your feet elevated to simulate that incline position on the upper chest. That would go a long way to helping to fill out that upper chest area, which tends to be the most stubborn part of the chest for most people. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of pro bodybuilders and top level athletes, they'll do a lot of their chest work on an incline to fill out that upper chest area, because again, it is the hardest area to fill out. And when it is filled out, it really helps to create a more impressive looking chest. So hopefully that was a comprehensive answer. First question back after a couple weeks. Probably I went overkill with it, but anyway, hopefully it was helpful. Robert's joining in and glad to see you back. AJ says he's currently downing a protein shake. Good for you. Yeah, I fell off the wagon a little bit and lost some strength. I find that strength can be lost quickly. Is a little weak. What's your experience with strength loss? Absolutely. And I can totally relate to this because I haven't worked out in over 2 weeks, right? Like I mentioned earlier when we just started, I was on a bike packing trip for 2 weeks. So there's no gym. And I didn't do any strength training exercise for over 2 weeks. And I did my first workout back at the gym today. And I felt weak. I felt uncoordinated. I felt out of my groove. I was just like, blah. Like, it didn't feel right. Like my strength is down. And I know this. Like, I knew going in that my strength was be down. Like, I didn't have any intentions of trying to match the weights that I lifted when I left or anything like that. I literally just went in there and went through the motions, like took warm-up weights and just went through the motions with them. And didn't, like, I don't really have any expectations when it comes to that. Like, whenever you're coming back to the gym after a layoff, whether it's a little layoff, like a week or two, or a big layoff, like a month or two or more, just go through the motions. Just start back, go through the motions, and don't have any emotional attachment. Just literally show up. That's all you got to do. Show up and go through the motions. And once you get into that rhythm, then you'll bounce back very quickly. If it's only been a short layoff, like a week or two, then within a week or two back to the gym, you'll be back up to your previous level of strength and conditioning. Under most circumstances. I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but most people, within a couple weeks back, you'll be back to your normal self. If you took a longer time off, like you took a couple months off from the gym, well, it's going to take longer, right? It's going to take, a month or two to get back to your old level of conditioning. But the cool thing is you can always regain lost strength a lot quicker than it took you to gain it initially, right? This is known as muscle memory. You've probably heard people talk about this. And that's why people can bounce back a lot quicker than they can get in shape in the first place. So like if you took someone who's worked out in the past, built up to a respectable level of muscular development, and then they took some time off and then they started again, they're going to get in shape way faster the second time around versus someone who's brand new and going through the process for the very first time. It's always easier to regain strength and muscle the second time through. And this can be a bit misleading sometimes when you're looking at all these before and after transformations. And this is universal across the board. Like a lot of times you'll look at before and after transformations, see someone who made this a crazy 12-week transformation. Chances are, with very few exceptions, these extreme 12-week transformations or similar type of transformations you see, the person was probably in good shape at one point and then they got back in shape again. So it's not a true transformation as in someone who was brand new and made that kind of transformation. And this applies for my own as well. Like if you go over on my website and you see some of my progress pictures and all that, that applies to me because like I say, I've been working out for 30 years. I've competed in multiple bodybuilding shows. I've done over 17 shows and also competed in powerlifting as well. So like I've got a big foundation, if you will. So when I get out of shape, it doesn't take me as long to get back in shape. One, because of muscle memory, and two, because I know what I need to do. So I'm not wasting time spinning my wheels and doing crap that's unproductive. So it's a lot quicker to get back in shape the second time around than it is to get in shape the first time around. So but that's normal. Like everybody's going to go through periods of that, whether it's planned layoffs, whether it's unplanned, like maybe it's you got sick or you had to move or career or family issues or whatever, like something came about that was outside your control that caused you to get off track. I mean, something's going to happen from time to time, or it could be a planned trip, a planned layoff, as in my case, where I was on a 2-week bikepacking trip and I knew I wasn't going to be going to the gym, right? So, I mean, whether it's a planned or unplanned, you're going to go through this. And whatever you do, don't make a big deal of it. Like, just forgive, correct, continue, start again. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not making a big deal, beat myself up like, oh shit, I lost strength. Oh, I'm not as right. I don't feel as buff as I did, 2 weeks ago before I left. I feel like I'm weaker and flatter and blah blah blah. Like, who gives a shit? Like, it's only going to be a couple weeks back to the gym, and I'll be back to normal again, right? Just pick up where you left off and start again, right? Like, you're always going to be going through phases of start again, and the quicker you can start again, and the less of a deal you make of it, then the faster the progress you'll make, right? Like, I always get a kick out of it sometimes when people, they get on a fitness program, right? Whether it's a workout or a nutrition plan or whatever. And then if they get off track, they're like, oh, I screwed up. I can't do this anymore. And then they throw in the towel and they quit. Like, don't quit. The only thing that's going to stop your progress is if you quit on yourself. But if you just get off track and then you start again, you can continue making progress. And to kind of give you an analogy of this, like, imagine you had to take some time off your job, like for whatever reason, man, you got the flu, or you got the illness or something like that, and you had to take some time off. Like, just because you take a week or two off your job, does that mean you have to quit your job? No, right? You're going to start again, right? If, like, when you're going through school, you take summer vacation. Does that mean, like, over summer vacation, oh, I got to quit school now because I took a couple months off? No, you start again. Same when it comes to your workouts. If you take some time off, whether it's planned or unplanned, who gives a darn? It's no big deal. Just start again. Pick up where you left off and continue on. All right, moving on. This is from YT, and he's asking, what's the difference between bodybuilding versus fitness? Is bodybuilding considered fitness? That's a good question, right? And I'm going to break it down for you. Bodybuilding, in its pure sense, is simply building your body, right? Like most, if you go to the gym, you're lifting weights, and you're doing so to try and get bigger and stronger and look better and feel better and improve your health and build your body. That is bodybuilding in its pure sense. You're building your body. You're taking conscious effort through exercise and nutrition to develop your body. That's bodybuilding in its pure essence. Now, you have competitive bodybuilding, which is competing on stage with other bodybuilders and to see who looks the best in their underwear under bright stage lights in front of a panel of judges and an auditorium of spectators. That's competitive bodybuilding. And we have all kinds of different divisions these days, from open bodybuilding to classic bodybuilding to physique to fitness model. And then on the lady side, you've got bikini and figure and physique and bodybuilding and like all these, but it's just the same thing. It's just you're getting on stage in your underwear, aka a posing suit. I call it your underwear, but you're getting on stage in a posing suit and you're being compared with other people to see who looks the best, right? That's the sport of bodybuilding. Now, fitness is a very broad topic because fitness could encompass a lot of stuff. Like, you could just say, what's your personal fitness? I mean, like, that could even be used like almost like a health marker for that matter, but it could incorporate all types of sports, like non-gym activities, running, swimming, sports, track and field, high school gym, like whatever, like that could all be encompassed under fitness. Fitness, I guess, is just your general physical fitness. I mean, now obviously you can break it down as much as you want and kind of like unpack it into different categories, but that's that's my definition of it. Like bodybuilding in its pure sense is simply exercising and eating to build your body. Fitness is, in its pure sense, just your overall physical fitness in all aspects, not necessarily in terms of gym workouts. It could be everything from outdoor fitness to gym fitness and everything in between. And then, of course, then you have the competitive side of bodybuilding, and then the competitive side of fitness as well, right? I mean, there's fitness competitions as well, where people get on stage and compete. And a fitness competition, again, there's a lot of different categories when it comes to these competitions, and it's always evolving. But it generally involves the aesthetic side, where people get in their posing suits and, you know, bodies side by side on stage in front of a panel of judges and an auditorium of spectators. And then there's usually a competitive athletic side of it as well, where they're judged on their athletic performance. Because that's one of the things about bodybuilding competition. It's not physical. Like, nobody cares how much you lift on a bodybuilding stage. Nobody cares how fast you can run a mile, or what your 1 rep max bench press, or how many pull-ups you can do, or like, none of that stuff matters. It's just, how do you look? That's all that matters. So bodybuilding competition, it's kind of weird because it's really not a physical sport. It's a beauty competition, for lack of a better word. That's what it is. But in order to look good on stage, you have to do the physical training in preparation for that. So all the physical side of it is done in the months leading up to the competition. But on the competition day itself, there's zero physical, competition or physical tests being done other than displaying your physique in front of the judges. So it's kind of a weird sport in that way. And that's why I think it's one of those sports that'll probably never really make it to an Olympic level, because it doesn't have that athletic component to it. It's more or less just a beauty competition for who's got the best built body. Excuse me. We got John joining in from the UK. Welcome. We've got Samuel joining in from North Wales. We've got Emma joining in, saying, I haven't seen you for a while, and I've explained earlier why I've been away. Welcome, welcome. Brian is joining from Alabama. Says, my trainer has me doing German volume training, 10 sets of 10. What's your opinion of German volume training for muscle growth? I have utilized German volume training myself. It's a unique style of training. It's great for a short-term plateau buster. So like, you do one exercise for each muscle group. So just throw out an example, like bench press for chest, or squats for legs, curls for arms, whatever. And you basically do 10 sets of 10. Now you start off with a conservative weight. So the first few sets feel like warm-up weights. Hey, this is nothing to it. But the cumulative fatigue of set after set after set, then by the time you're getting, set 7, 8, and 9, like, you're grinding it out to complete those last few sets of 10 reps. So it's a different style of training, and it accumulates a lot of volume into the muscles. And it certainly can help to provide some unique muscle stimulation. And I've utilized it myself. I've utilized it with some of my coaching students in the past. And I mean, it's certainly a productive style of training. The only downside of it, it gets boring pretty quick, right? Like, after a month of German volume training, you're probably going to be like, I want to do something else, because it just gets monotonous doing the same thing set after set after set after set, 10 times 10 for every exercise, and having that limited variety. So that's what I found. Is it was cool at first, first few weeks, really enjoyed it. After that, it kind of got stale pretty quick. And I find when it comes to your workouts, your progress and your motivation are linked. So like, if you start to get bored with your workouts, very often your progress kind of goes stale as well. And if you're excited and you're motivated and you're enjoying the workouts, you tend to make better progress. So there is like a link to motivation as well as productivity. So that's one of the drawbacks I found with the German volume training, is it can get a bit monotonous after a while. But in the short term, you can make some really good gains. And the nice thing I like about it is it really helps to teach you the movement pattern of those exercises you are doing. Where you're doing 10 sets of 10, you're doing a lot of repetitive movement patterns. So you're really going to ingrain the technique for those exercises you're working on. So it's a great way to help Like the strength gains you make through that, not only is it going to be through pure muscle growth and stimulation, but it's also going to be from improved technique as well, because you become more efficient with those movement patterns. So it's a great style of training. And bottom line, like this was something that I've heard from one of my fitness coaches and mentors in the past, is like the best program is the one you're not doing. Right? Like anytime you provide unique muscle stimulation, something that your body's not accustomed to, it's going to respond. So like this, a lot of times people say, well, what's the best program? Or this is the best program, or that's the best program. And then like you talk to 10 bodybuilders and you ask them, like, what's the best workout? And you get 10 different answers. Because there is no best program, right? Everything works, but nothing works forever. And every program you follow, it goes through a phase of you have to adapt, then you grow, and then eventually you're on a plateau. Every program out there, whether it's my program, German volume training, something that Joe Blow, personal trainer at the YMCA, wrote up for you, or if it's something that, Mr. YouTuber with the 500 million subscribers wrote up and wrote an ebook on, every program goes through this phase: adapt, grow, plateau. So you start a new program, something that your body's not accustomed to. In that transition of learning the new program, going through the different exercises, the different muscle stimulation, your body has to adapt. In the process of adapting to it, you're going to see some growth. You're going to make some gains, right? Your body's going to grow in response to that unique muscle stimulation. But eventually that unique muscle stimulation is not going to become unique anymore. You're going to start to plateau because your body becomes used to it. And then once you start to plateau, then the results start to flatline a bit. And that's when you need to change it up a bit. And to change it up, there's a lot of ways to change it up. Like you could literally change the exercises, do different exercises. You could change the set and rep pattern. You could change the tempo. You could change the way you do the movements. Like sometimes if you do them in a fast, explosive manner, or you do them in a slow and controlled manner, like that's providing unique muscle stimulation, and it's different, a different stimulus, right? If you do very fast, explosive reps, or you do slow and controlled tempo reps. If you do high reps or low reps, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to change it up, even changing up the order of your exercises. Like if you always start with bench press, exercise 1, chest day, and then you go through a series of other exercises. If you just reverse the order and you start, say, like with your isolation exercises first, and then you finish off with the compound exercises afterwards, that's a form of unique muscle stimulation and changing it up. And anytime you provide unique muscle stimulation, you'll go through that adapt, grow, plateau phase all over again. So it's really becoming aware of how your body's responding and staying on top of it. So when you're doing something and it's working, like ride that wave of momentum for what it's worth. Like, I mean, you might be able to stick to a program for a few months. Who knows? Like maybe you'll only stick to it for a few weeks. You might be able to ride it out for a few months. Like who knows? Maybe you'll do German volume training and love it, and you'll be able to do it for 12 weeks. Who knows? But ride it out for as long as you're making good progress, right? Program, you're seeing strength gains, you're feeling good, you're seeing progress. Ride that wave of momentum for what it's worth. But once you start to get to the point where the strength starts to dwindle, you're not seeing the same progress. The strength gains start to plateau, or worse, they even start to go backwards. Because this can happen too. Like maybe you hit a certain number, like I don't know, you bench pressing 150 pounds for 10 sets of 10, and then all of a sudden you try 150 pounds and I can't get 10 sets of 10 anymore. I'm hitting failure before I hit all 10 sets of 10. And then it's worse. Like now I'm even getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Once your strength starts to go backwards, that's a sign that you're starting to plateau and you need to change it up. And, the change could be, again, change in exercises, change in the volume in general. Like sometimes you need to step it up. Sometimes you need to back it off. And that's where working with an experienced coach who's following along with your progress and is kind of in tune with how your body's responding can really help. So in your case, you mentioned that you are working with, where was it? You're working with a trainer now. So hopefully your trainers on top of this can really help you to manage your growth with the German volume program. All right, moving on. We have Nathan joining in. How's it going? Emma's asking, what's my arm measurement? I have no idea. I haven't measured them in months, literally. I'm guessing probably 16-inch range. They're not that big. All right, I'm not a big guy. Like I weighed myself this morning. I'm 193. I actually lost 5 pounds over my bike packing trip over the past 10 days because I was just so active and burning so many calories cycling, right? So I actually dropped 5 pounds without even trying to. Like I wasn't dieting, but it's just massive amounts of calories being burned over the past 10 days. Yeah, I'm tracking my calorie expenditure and stuff like that. And on these rides, I was burning anywhere between 2 to 4,000 calories a day over and above maintenance. So big calorie expenditure. And I ended up dropping about 5 pounds on the scale since when I left. So that was a nice little surprise. Come home leaner. Who else? We got Joazen. Is my 3 split okay? Day 1 and buys and abs. Day 2 back and tries. Day 3 legs and shoulders and abs. Sure. I mean, you can make it work, right? The bottom line is training in a progressive overload and just adjusting it according to what I was just sharing in the comment, right? Paying attention to how your body responds and staying on top of that whole adaptive plateau curve. We have Neil coming in. Says, Lee, I'm running out of plates in my home gym and it'll take a while to buy new ones. Planning to increase my time under tension, like lowering it for 4 to 6 seconds on lighter weights. What are your thoughts? That's a great way to make lighter weights feel heavier. Slow down the tempo, squeeze it out, like hold the peak contraction, and you can get more muscle activation with less weight. And that works, right? Like you don't need to be slamming around, throwing around heavy weight. Like for a lot of isolation exercises, this is the strategy I use even when I'm at the gym. So I'll give you a prime example, like one exercise, dumbbell side lateral raises, right? I don't go very heavy with that exercise. And if I feel that the weights I'm using, it's getting easy, rather than going up to the next set of dumbbells, which can be a big jump. Like let's just say you're using 25 and then you go to 30. That's a big jump in weight percentage-wise. And very often it's too big. So what I will do is I'll keep the same weight, but I'll just slow down the tempo and really focus on strict controlled form and then hold that peak contraction at the top for a second with each rep. And by doing that, you can make the lighter weights feel heavier and actually get more muscle activation out of them. So you can do that with pretty much any exercise, like especially when it comes to like rowing movements or pulling movements, like hold the peak contraction for a second at the top of each rep. Really squeeze and contract the muscles. Focus on the stretch and the squeeze, and you can make a lot more, get a lot more muscle stimulation from the same weight. Like you can do that with body weight exercises as well, like push-ups or pull-ups or lunges or body weight squats or anything along those lines, abdominal work, right? Like if you find that it's getting easy, like slow it down, focus on getting that mind muscle connection and actually putting some isometric contraction into those exercises as well. Like prime example of this, if you ever watch bodybuilders when they're posing on stage, they're not lifting any weight at all, but they're exerting a maximum muscle contraction when they pose because they tense their muscles. So you can use the isometric contraction as well, and you can actually combine the isometric contraction with resistance and get a whammy from it. So yeah, you can make an exercise as hard as you want, regardless of the weight. Now, with that being said, if you want a little trick to increase the resistance for some of those exercises, if you have resistance bands, you can stack resistance bands with free weights. Like you can just Google search it and see examples of this. But like a lot of powerlifters have done this, where they use accommodating resistance, where they'll put resistance bands on the end of the barbells to make them harder. You can do body weight exercises with resistance bands to make them harder. Like you could even have a resistance band and a dumbbell and have that accommodating resistance. So if you've got resistance bands at home, that's a great way to make some of those exercises harder and get more muscle activation that way as well. So there's always a way to make it harder, right? And then of course you can always just resort to doing more sets and reps, increase the volume, right? Like we were just talking about German volume training. I'm sure you could probably take the weights you have, and if you start doing 10 sets of 10, you could probably get maximum muscle stimulation with the weights you currently have. All right. Let's see what else we got. Robert's got a question saying, I started Steve Reeves 10 by 12. I only do it for 4 weeks and then I'll change. Um, yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't, you know what? I wouldn't even put a timeline on it. Like, a lot of people say, I'm only going to do this for whatever. Like in your case, you say, I'm going to do it for 4 weeks. Don't put a timeline. Do it for as long as it's working for you. Like, whenever you start a new program, don't set these pre-set limits on yourself saying, oh, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks. I'm going to do this for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. Like, just do it. Like, give it at least 4 weeks. I mean, it's going to take at least 4 weeks for your body to adapt to anything that you do. But if you're still making progress after 4 weeks, why are you going to stop? Like, ride that wave of momentum for what it's worth. I mean, if you can get 12 weeks of gains with that program, then ride that momentum for 12 weeks. Like, milk it for what it's worth. Don't set these pre-limited, like, oh, I'm only going to do it for 4 weeks, or I'm only going to do it for 3 weeks or whatever. Like, no, like, give it at least 4 weeks. That's like the minimum. But if it's still working and you're enjoying it and you're making progress, then don't stop. Like, just ride that momentum for what it's worth. And then once you start to hit that plateau phase, right, your body's achieved the growth that it's going to achieve. And now you're going into the plateau phase where you're not enjoying the program. Chances are your strength is starting to plateau or even go backwards. Then you can change it up and do something else. But I wouldn't limit yourself in advance. Like, one of the things I found over the years is when I get into a routine and a rhythm, like, and things are clicking, like you're eating well, you're sleeping well, you're consistent with the workouts, and like everything just seems to be going. When you're in that groove, like, don't stop it. Milk it for what it's worth and just let it compound and let the results happen. And you can make some amazing gains and ride that momentum for what it's worth. And then vice versa. Sometimes you get in these slumps where it's a struggle to get to the gym. It's a struggle to eat good, and you're probably not sleeping like you want. And when you're in these ruts, it can sometimes be hard to break out of those ruts. But you want to try and do your best that you can. But when you're in the groove and things are moving along, like, let it go. Like, just like coasting downhill. Like, don't drag the brakes. Like, just let her go. Like, let it coast downhill. Ride that momentum for what it's worth. All right, what else we got there? We got Jose joining in. Hope you're well. I got a question. On a previous video chat, you mentioned that 4 days, full body workouts a week are ideal, if possible, instead of 3. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are ideal. So how on the split do you work out each body part 4 times a week? Do you have to split each day, and how many sets per body part do you have to do? That really is going to depend on on the individual and your fitness level and a whole bunch of stuff, right? So there's a lot of wild cards in there, right? If I was training someone who's brand new versus someone who's been working out for 10 years, there's 2 different answers. But the simple thing is, when you're doing full body workouts, this is the way I like to do full body workouts for more advanced people, is don't do the same full body workout each time. So, like, if you're a beginner, it's okay to do the same thing over and over again, just kind of build some repetition and lay a foundation. Like, that's a great way to get started. Say, like, a simple 3-day per week total body workout where you do the same thing. But for someone who's more advanced, I would change it up. And this is how I go about it. Like, I do total body workouts. I did a total body workout today, in fact. But I change up the exercises. So one day I might do like a barbell bench press for my main chest exercise. The next day I might do dips. Another day I might do some isolation work, maybe some flies. But I'm just choosing a different exercise, right? Same thing when it comes to all the muscle groups. Like, one day I might do squats, one day I might do leg presses, one day I might do some isolation work with leg extensions and leg curls. I'm changing up the exercises. I'm focused on working the muscles. So that's how I would recommend it. So, like, you could even lay out a plan for yourself. Like, I've got a sample program that you can follow along over on my main YouTube channel. It's the father and son workout program. I posted up when did I post that? Like, it was over a year ago now. But like that's a great example to follow. And it's basically total body workout, but each day we're doing different exercises. Now that's a 3-day split, but like you can add to it and expand to it to make it a 4-day split if you want to. But you'll see like we're working all the major muscle groups, but each day we're doing different movements, right? So we're doing different exercises for those muscles. So that's where you get the variety over the course of the week. And you're also getting the benefit of the short, frequent workouts. Because when you do a little bit of exercise and then let it rest, recover, grow, a little bit of exercise, rest, recover, grow, you get the benefit of those frequent workouts, the little spurts of exercise, but it's not so much that it causes you to become painfully sore. Like if you do a few sets of squats and then that's it for your legs, like it's probably not going to be so excruciating that you can't walk a flight of stairs the next day or you can't function normally the next day. Like you may feel okay, like I work muscles, like I can tell that I was at the gym, but you don't get painfully sore in one area. And that's a really nice thing. It's a nice advantage of the total body workout. And you don't get a split routine. Like if you violate a muscle group, you do 20 plus sets for a muscle group, you're going to be painfully sore in that muscle the next day. At least most people are, right? Like going there and do 20 sets for legs. Next day, you can't walk up a flight of stairs and it hurts to sit down to, do a number 2. Like that's no fun. I don't want to be sore the next day. So I like to do little bursts, like a little bit of muscle stimulation, then let it rest, recover, and grow. A little bit of muscle stimulation, let it rest, recover, and grow. And I find that it helps to speed the process along. It reduces a lot of aches, pains, and injuries. And it just makes me feel better. And I actually enjoy my workouts more. Now, again, that's my preference. Now, I know other people are the opposite. Some people love the pain and they thrive on it, almost like a sadistic type of thing. Like, hey, if they don't feel pain after a workout, they feel like they wasted their time or whatever. But I don't like pain, right? So if I can work out, make progress, and get in shape without feeling pain, that's good by me. So that's why I like the total body workouts. Now, what I would suggest in your situation, Jose, start off conservative. Like you're asking, like how many sets, how many reps, how many this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like if you've never done this before, maybe start off with 3 days a week, right? Like maybe you could literally follow that exact routine that I posted up on my playlist on YouTube. Try that for the first 2 to 3 weeks and see how your body responds. If it feels easy and you can do more, then maybe throw in an extra day, right? Add in some other exercises that you're not doing during those 3 workouts to kind of make a more complete, well-balanced workout. Try that for a few weeks, see how your body responds. And then if you still feel like you can do more, like it's too easy, then try increasing the volume, like add an extra set for each exercise and build it up gradually that way. But always start conservative. Like you only need to do enough to stimulate the muscle to grow. You don't need to overkill. And this is a big thing that a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around, because like a lot of people have this all or nothing mindset where it's like, oh, I'm going all in or I'm not doing anything. And it's like, you don't need to go all in, right? Like it's like taking a rocket launcher to a deer hunt. Yeah, I mean, sure, a rocket launcher will kill a deer, but it's overkill. Like there's nothing left. It's just going to annihilate it and blow it to smithereens. You only need a rifle or maybe a bow and arrow or something. Like that's enough to get the job done. And the same applies with your workouts. Like you only need to do enough to actually stimulate some muscle growth and make progress. Going in there and overkilling it, like if you can make progress with 3 sets, doing 20 sets isn't going to speed it up. It's just overkill. It's too much. And it actually hinders the whole recovery process. So instead of doing 3 sets, rest, recover, and grow, and then get back into the gym quicker, if you did 20 sets, and now you're painfully sore for several days, it just slows down the whole process. So you're not able to get into the gym and train as frequently. So you only need to do enough to get the job done, right? You don't need to overkill. And this also applies with nutrition as well. Like a lot of people think, well, I'm going on a fat loss diet, so I got to slash my calories to 1,000 calories a day. Like that's overkill. Like if you're currently eating just say 3,000 calories a day, you don't need to slash it to 1,000. Like you only need to slash it by say like 10%. So if you're currently eating 3,000 calories a day, hey, how about we cut it back to 2,700 calories a day and then bump up your exercise a little bit? That's enough of a calorie deficit to start making progress. Like do as little as needed to make progress without going overboard. And this is what makes it sustainable. Because when you go overboard, with this all or nothing approach. Like, I'm going to work out for 5 hours a day and I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day and I'm going to do 2 hours of cardio on top of my weight training and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to, like the whole New Year's resolution thing. Like, I'm going to starve myself and work out like a madman and I'm going to lose all the weight in January. Like, no, you're not. You're going to burn yourself out, feel like shit and quit. And then you'll be back to square one, fatter than ever. And then next January, you'll roll around and you'll be more disgusted and pissed off and you'll set the same stupid goal all over again. Like, you need to just pace yourself. Just do enough to get the job done, but be good enough and good enough consistently. Like, that's what I keep preaching. You probably heard me say it before, and I always preach it to my coaching students. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be extreme. You don't need to be this all in or nothing of that shit. You just need to be good enough, but good enough consistently. And if you can be good enough consistently, then you can make it work. And that's what makes this sustainable. And then when you see somebody who's in amazing shape, it's not that they have some crazy workout program or some magic macro split or they're on all kinds of special supplements. It's that they're good enough and they're good enough consistently over the long term. That's it. Like, if you have someone, like, let's just say we take two people. One person's making poor food choices and not exercising and doing that for 20 years. And then you have someone else who's making good food choices and is exercising, and they do that for 20 years. At the end of 20 years, who's going to look better? The person who's not exercising and making poor food choices, or the person who's exercising and making good food choices? Like, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, the person who's taken positive action is going to look better at the end of 20 years. And that's where you see this life and like this life-changing transformation where you see someone like, oh my God, you're in such amazing shape. Like, what's your macros? What's your workout split? What's this? It's not that they're doing anything special. It's just that they're good enough, but they're good enough consistently. That's the secret right there. Right? I mean, there's all kinds of ways to get there. It's just being good enough, but good enough consistently. So hopefully that elaborates on your question and gives you a place to start. All right. John's got a question saying, Lee, just wondering, I do 15 to 20 pump reps, but make the last 3 reps hard. Before the 3 reps get hard, I have 5 seconds to rest. Is that okay? Okay. I do 15 to 20 pump reps, but make the last 3 reps hard. Before the 3 reps get hard, I have 5 seconds to rest. If you mean like a little rest pause, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some people do that naturally without even counting it or making a big deal of it. Like, prime example, like sometimes when people are doing squats, like you might do a couple squats and then you lock the weight out and you take a few deep breaths and then you continue on. Or maybe you're doing a set of bench presses, right? You pump out a few reps and then you lock it out and you and take a few breaths and keep going. Like, it's kind of like a rest pause, if you will. I mean, if that helps you to complete higher reps, then hey, go for it. It's no big deal. And when you are doing higher reps, those types of strategies can help, because what often happens is when the reps get high, you run into some oxygen fatigue as well, like oxygen debt. It's not just muscular exhaustion that you get with the lower reps, but it's cardiovascular and oxygen debt as well. So sometimes just simply locking out the weight, having a little mini break, taking a few deep breaths to reoxygenate your system can help you to perform higher reps. And a lot of times you see guys do this. Like, even if someone's trying to bang out a maximum set of push-ups, right? They'll bang out as many reps as they can, then they'll lock it out, take a few breaths, and then bang out a few more, lock it out, right? So those little mini breaks in between sets is known as a rest pause. But yeah, you can certainly do that to help prolong the set and to increase the overall workload. Samuel Jones, if you go heavy on a muscle group, would you recommend going light the next day on the same muscle for high reps for recovery? It depends. There is some logic to that, where you can do a heavy workout and then do like a little active recovery workout the next day. Personally, the way I go about it is I like to alternate weight training one day and cardio the next. Weight training one day and cardio the next, and then the cardio serves as my active recovery light workout, where I'm flushing the body with just blood and nutrients and oxygenating it through the cardio exercise, and that helps to rid lactic acid and waste products and helps to aid with the recovery. So the strength training, that's like the high intensity, breaking down the muscles, stressing the central nervous system. The cardio is lower intensity, and it's a different modality of exercise. Again, it's not strength training, it's cardiovascular and aerobic exercise, but it's flushing the muscles with blood, improving circulation, ridding lactic acid and waste products. So it's complementary. Like one helps the other. The cardio helps to aid the recovery of the weight training, and it also helps to burn fat, and you reap the benefits of daily exercise. So that's how I would go about it. But with that being said, like if your chest, like this, I'm using chest as an example here, but let's say you did a big old heavy chest workout and you're sore the next day, doing some light movement for your chest, even if it's just some light stretching or just like going through the motions with some easy chest exercises, that can help to speed up the recovery. Doing nothing is actually the slowest way to recover, right? Like just literally sitting on your ass and doing nothing. Light movement, active recovery is the fastest way to recover. So that's why I always like to do, strength training one day, cardio the next, and alternate it in that fashion, because I find that it helps to speed up the whole recovery process. But there's other ways that you can go about that same strategy, and doing a little light workout where you're just literally going through the motions with super lightweight, just focusing on stretching and moving and getting some blood flow and circulation there. That will definitely help as well. Emma saying, I'm assuming you have a short head bicep to have the peaks you do. What do you need to do to get bicep peaks like yours? I have one bicep that's shorter than the other because I tore it. Back in 2010, I tore my left bicep, and my left bicep is actually shorter than my right, and which actually makes it look more peaked, but it's shorter. But how you're going to get bigger bicep peaks, like a lot of it's genetic. There's not much you can do. I mean, obviously you can build a muscle bigger, but the best thing that you can do to improve the definition of your biceps, or any muscle for that matter, is simply lose the body fat that's surrounding them. The leaner you get, the more defined you're going to look. And this applies for biceps in every muscle group. Because like back in my bulking days, my get fat days, I mean, my arms were bigger. Like I can remember at my biggest, I had like 18-inch arms, but they weren't defined. They were just big and bulky because it was just surrounded with a layer of fat. So the fat just smooths everything out, right? It blurs the definition. And if you look at any bodybuilder, like who's in their quote unquote off season, or like a lot of strongman competitors, or a lot of power lifters, or people who are big and bulky, they don't have that lean defined look because they just have a layer of fat that's blurring all the definition. So the single best thing that you can do to improve muscle definition and to make you look more defined, and that includes bicep peak as well, is get leaner. Lose the body fat that's covering the muscles. Now, granted, you will be physically smaller because with less fat, you're going to lose weight and you'll be physically smaller, but you look more muscular. And that's the whole reason why bodybuilders get down for competition, because they look bigger, they look more muscular, and they look more defined. So it looks better, but it's you're physically smaller. And it's deceiving too, because when you see somebody in clothes and they're small, they don't look that impressive. But then when they take their shirt off, or you see them on stage, like in a bodybuilding competition or something like that, then you see how lean and ripped and defined they are. Whereas if you see someone who's big and bulky and they got clothes on, like, they're wearing a t-shirt or something like that, like, oh man, he's huge, look how big and jacked he is, but he's big and smooth. If he took his shirt off, like, no definition underneath, it's just, just a big blob of mass, right? Like, it's all smoothed out, there's no lines or cuts or detail. But if you have someone who's lean, then you can see all that muscle definition. That's, besides, just simply building bigger arms through strength training exercises, that's the key to getting the definition and the defined look, is simply losing the body fat. Yeah, Daniel joining in from Calgary. Thanks for your philosophy about being balanced with exercise consistently. You're welcome. Glad you enjoy it. Champ is saying consistency is the key. It absolutely is. And we have Kane joining in. Hey, Kane, how's it going? YT is asking if periodization is needed for hypertrophy. Not really. Like, you don't need to have these structured periodization programs planned out. Like, I don't have any special plan, like, oh, I'm going to go through a a periodization phase where I'm going to go do this and that and the other thing. That's usually for competitive athletes who have a competitive season. So they have an off season and an in season, and then they're training and to peak for their competition season. They usually go through periodization phases. But for the average Joe who's just in the gym to work out and get in shape and look your best, like, you don't necessarily have a peak season. You just want to constantly improve over time. You don't necessarily have to have a structured periodization plan where, okay, for this many months I'm going to do this, and for that many months I'm going to do another phase and this phase and that phase. Like, you don't need to go through that for the average person. Just focus on being better than you were before. Simple as that. And paying attention to what I was mentioning earlier, like this whole adapt, grow, plateau, like being in tune with your body and seeing like, okay, I'm following this new program and I'm liking it. It's working. I'm seeing results. I'm adapting to it. And because of that, I'm starting to grow from it. Like, ride that momentum and feel the results like this plateau, and you're not enjoying it the same. Even if it gets to the point where the starts and that starts to even backtrack, then you can change it up. So you can kind of use that as your periodization, if you will, but it doesn't have to be pre-planned in advance. Like, you can be very intuitive and adjust it in real time. And that's how I go about it myself. Like, I don't plan that, oh, I'm going to do this program for the next 12 weeks. And then after that, I'm going to do this for the next 12 weeks. And then I'm going to do that for the next 12. No, like I'm in the moment, right? Like, I'll adjust it based on how I'm feeling in the moment, right? If it's working and I'll just let it ride, right? If it's not working, then I'll change it, right? And I have no hesitation for that. And with that being said, like, don't be too haphazard to change. Like, just like maybe you go into the gym and you feel extra tired one day or something like that, or you have an off day. Like, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to scrap a program because you had one bad day. I mean, it could be because you didn't sleep well the night before, or you didn't eat well, or you're under a lot of stress at work or with your family, or who knows. Like, everybody's going to have an off day from time to time, but look at the bigger picture. Like, if you go a couple weeks with no noticeable progress, okay, now you're kind of getting into that plateau phase and it's time to change it up. But if you just have a day or two where, oh, that was a shitty workout, right? It didn't feel good or it didn't feel strong. Don't write off the whole program because you had a bad day here and there. Like, look at the bigger picture. But if it accumulates, like, hey, you went a week or two of bad workouts, where your progress is come to like a noticeable standstill, then you might want to change it up, right? So don't take it too literal, what I'm saying here. Like, look at it from a more practical, broader sense. All right, what else we got there? I'm going to get ready and clue it up soon because we're almost at the 1 hour mark. And I got a couple more questions to go. AT is saying it is said that carnitine increases androgen receptors functionality, so testosterone utilization is more efficient. Is this true? I have no idea. I'm not a scientist and I've never studied that, so I really don't know. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna get a drink there. I have no idea. No comment on that. One thing that I will say is carnitine does help to increase fat metabolization. And that's something I actually started supplementing with carnitine again to help with my endurance and to help with that, to help utilize fat as a fuel source, especially with long distance cycling, which I've been doing a lot of lately. Now, has it helped? I don't know. It certainly hasn't hindered my progress, but it's one of those things where, like, the margin of gain that you get from some of these supplements is so small that it's not going to make or break your progress. Like, it could give you a slight edge, like marginal gains, but it's like the icing on the cake, right? If you don't have a cake to ice, then what's the point of putting icing on the cake, right? So it's one of these things. It's very marginal gains, but as far as improving androgen receptors and all that stuff, I haven't looked into that myself, so no comment there. Emma saying, you mentioned earlier about building bigger biceps to get the peaks, but I keep hearing supernating and pronating and looking up exercises, and I don't really know what this means. All right, supernating is simply twisting your wrist. So, like, just like my wrist is flat down, so this is and then when I supinate it, like you can literally see the muscles activate. And all I'm doing is twisting my wrist. So if I was grabbing a dumbbell, you could twist, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you would twist the dumbbell as you're curling it. So you just rotate your palm as you're curling the dumbbell. That's known as supination. Pronate is like if you have a pronated grip, that's when your hands are pointed down, so palms down, supinated, palms up. So like that supination process is the act of twisting your palms from facing down to facing up. That's all it is. It's just basically rotating the wrists. And with biceps, you can do exercises in all those different ranges. So if you got dumbbells, you actually do the whole supination thing where you start off with your palms in the pronated position and then finish in the supinated position. If you're using a barbell, you're already in that locked in palms up curl grip. You could also do reverse grip where you're doing curls with your palms facing down. And this kind of works more of the brachialis and a lot of the forearm extensors as you're doing those. If you got an easy curl barbell, then you're kind of in the middle, right? That middle range. So you can incorporate all these exercises into your bicep workouts. And it's not that one is right, wrong, good, bad, or anything like that. It's just hitting the muscles from different angles. And it's something that you can experiment with and see what feels the best for you. I know a lot of people tend to like easy bar curls because it feels more comfortable on the wrists and the elbows and all that. Like if I'm going to do a heavy barbell curl, I'm going to use an easy curl bar more often than not because I find it more comfortable. Like that straight bar position, what's great for getting that, peak bicep contraction, it's very awkward on the wrists and elbows for a lot of people. And it is for me. So I feel more comfortable when I use an easy curl bar. So if I was going to do heavy curls, more often than not, I'm going to use an easy curl barbell, or I'm going to use dumbbells, right, and get that supination action going. But you can experiment with all kinds of different curl variations. Like they're all going to activate the biceps to one degree or another. It's just changing up the activation. So hopefully that makes sense. Shek, I guess that's how I pronounce your name, is saying, if I haven't slept in days, would you still suggest working out? Heck no. Go to bed, get some sleep. And I'm the same way. If I don't sleep well, I don't train, right? And I'm not, that's kind of pointless because you're not functioning at your best. You're in a sleep deprivation. You're already in a catabolic state. Like everything is thrown out of whack. You need good quality sleep. So if you haven't slept in days, like get yourself a day or two of good quality sleep before you start training again. And if this is an issue, like your insomnia or something like that, then go talk to your doctor. Like this is not something you want to ignore. Like sleep is critical. You need sleep for your body to function and recover properly. Muscle growth and all that stuff and growth hormone release, like it all happens when you're sleeping. So if you're shortchanged in the sleep department, you're not going to be maximizing muscle growth. Like it's kind of pointless. It's like digging yourself into a rut, right? You're breaking down the muscles, but you're not allowing them to rest, recover, and grow. So no, I wouldn't be training if I don't sleep well, I don't train. That's general rule of thumb right there. I'd rather take a nap than go to the gym on those days. What are your thoughts on behind the neck work, like behind the neck press and behind the neck pull up? Personally, I don't like them and I don't do them, but I know some people do. And it really depends on your individual shoulder mobility and flexibility. Like if you can do it, you enjoy it, and you find it works for you, I'm not going to knock it, right? I mean, some people do it. Like I've known a lot of bodybuilders over the years who've done behind the neck work and found it worked well for them. But personally, it's not required. You can get all the results you need from doing your presses and your pull-ups and all that stuff and your pull downs from to the front. So it's another exercise you can do if it works for you, but I personally don't find it. It doesn't work for me because that extreme, getting the arms behind the head just places excess strain on the whole shoulder joint, and I don't like it myself. We have Bogani saying, thanks, appreciate the content. First time being on a live chat. Welcome, glad to have you joining in. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. It's Bongani or Bangani. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Hopefully I am. But again, glad to have you tuning in. Always nice to have new guys joining our video chats. He says, it's midnight. Wow. Right? It's a late night for you. Hopefully it was worth it. He says, long-time listener and fan since 2012 from South Africa. And he says, I forgive you for butchering my name. I appreciate it. Thank you for the forgiveness in advance. you knew I wasn't going to pronounce it right. I try my best, but I mean, like, I'm only trying to pronounce what I'm reading here. And sometimes names don't pronounce like they read. So I mean, no offense if I butcher your name. Right? I'm still going to answer your question or acknowledge you one way or the other. Emma's saying, many thanks for your advice and expertise. Any chance of a gun show to finish off the day? But there's the gun show. It's a weak one because I'm getting tired at the end of the day. Vegeta, I think it is. One set to failure training method, question mark. I'm not a fan of one set to failure. I mean, obviously it can work. I know like Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates and those guys, utilize that whole one set to failure method. And, it obviously worked. But from a practical longevity point of view, it's not the safest method. I would much rather do 2 or 3 sets, stopping, either training momentary failure or even stopping shy of failure versus this one all-out balls to the wall, empty the tank set, because the risk of injury is great. Just cram, an entire session of muscle stimulation into one set. I mean, you're exerting so much effort that the risk of injury is high, and a lot of people who train that way get injured. I mean, prime example, former Mr. Olympia Dorian Yates has had numerous injuries from the whole one set to failure method. Now, it works, but it's like a double-edged sword. Yes, it works, but you increase the risk of injury. So the only thing that's really going to hold you back when it comes to making progress in the gym is getting an injury. Like, if you do an easy workout and you don't train to failure, that's not going to set you back, because you can always go back to the gym the next day and train harder or train again. Like, even if you skip a workout, don't go to the gym at all, like, that's not really going to set you back, because you can always go to the gym the next day and train again, right? With your nutrition, if you cheat on your diet, that's not really going to set you back in the greater scheme of things, because you can always clean it up and eat healthy the next day or for your next meal, right? Like, all these things are forgivable, right? Like, it's a little slip up, but I can always get back on track again. An injury is not forgivable, because if you go in there and you tear a bicep or you tear a pec or you blow out your rotator cuff or you snap your patella tendons or whatever, you're not going to the gym the next day. You don't just bounce back from it. Like, oh, I tore my pec today, I'll go back and train again tomorrow. No, you're in surgery. You're getting things, surgically reattached. You're laid up for weeks or months, sometimes even longer. And in some cases, you may have an injury that never recovers. Right? Like, I've got injuries that I've had from over 10 years ago that still haunt me today, that prevent me from doing certain movements. So an injury is the only thing that's going to hold you back. So that's why I'm such a huge advocate of injury prevention. And this whole one set to failure, high intensity training, yes, it works, but the risk of injury puts it out of my recommendation. Right now, I mean, I know you might talk to somebody else who says, oh, this is the way to go, it's hardcore, blah, blah, blah. More power to them until they get injured, right? So I would much rather train at a lower intensity, instead of going one set to failure, maybe, hey, we do 2 to 3 sets, just stopping shy of failure, still getting the same training stimulation, still working the muscle, still making, progressive overload over time and all that kind of stuff, but not pushing the limits, not redlining it every set, right? Like, just hold back a little bit, right? Go 8 or 9 tenths. Don't go 10 tenths, right? Just hold back. Have a little bit in reserve so that you're not pushing that envelope and risking injury. And that's a much safer way to go. And it's also a much more enjoyable way to go. You don't necessarily dread your workouts when you're not redlining it every single set, because that's not fun, right? When you go in there and push that kind of intensity, it takes I mean, I can remember back in my early days, I used to train, like I used to try and model myself off Dorian Yates in my early days of bodybuilding because he was reigning Mr. Olympia. And this was back when I was getting started. I had all his, his VHS tapes, and he used to read all these articles and had these books and stuff like that, the whole blood and guts mentality, mindset and training. And I used to try and follow that. And I mean, like, trying to psych yourself up for one of those sets, I mean, you'd sometimes get butterflies in your stomach and everything else. Like, it wasn't a fun experience, right? I mean, you kind of like starting that fight or flight system going in your body every time you work out. Whereas if you just scale back the intensity a little, you can actually enjoy the process. And I'm about longevity and doing this as a lifestyle, right? So I'd much rather go in the gym and enjoy it and have fun doing it than going in there with knots in my stomach and dreading my workouts. I mean, like, if you do something that you dread all the time, you don't want to do it for very long, right? So I actually like to enjoy the process. And I don't think there's anything wrong with structuring your workouts in such a way that you actually enjoy it, right? So that's why I'm not a huge fan of that super high intensity, one set to failure type of mentality. I'd much rather do a fewer, easier sets and still make progress over the long term. All right, we got Skinny joining in. It says, I feel if I skip a day at the gym, I lose the last week of progress. Is that in my head, or am I really losing gains? If you literally skip a day, you're not losing a week of progress. Look at it as an extra day of recovery. Now, if you skip a week or more, yeah, okay, you're losing some progress. But a day, not a big deal. Like, if you skip a day here and there, just pick up where you left off and keep going. Don't beat yourself up over it. All right, there we go, guys. That concludes our video chat, and we've been going for an hour and 11 minutes. So I'm going to get ready and clue it up. Almost, my tea with Lee is almost done. The cup is getting empty, and I'm getting tired, so I'm going to get ready and clue it up. But it's good to be back. I enjoy doing these video chats, and I miss not doing them for the past couple weeks. So, as far as I know, nothing's on my schedule for next week, so I should be back again on a regular schedule for the next little while anyway. So next week we'll be doing it again, same time, same place. We go live at 5 p.m. Eastern time on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding. I mean, obviously you convert that to your local time zone. And in the meantime, I'm going to have a replay of this one posted up with the timestamps. And if you would like to check out any of our past video chats, you can go and do so. And they should have the timestamps for all the questions posted there as well. Now, with that being said, if there's anything that you didn't get a chance to ask, or there's anything that I covered here that you'd like more clarification on, feel free to email me, right? You can send me an email to leeh@leehayward.com. That's my personal email address. And if you have any questions, or you need any help, or if you'd like some help with a customized fitness and nutrition program or anything like that, feel free to send me an email, and we can have a chat and discuss you and your situation and see if we can come up with an action plan to help you get in your best shape. And in the meantime, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out. And